Hello, welcome to the First Issue Club Comic Book Podcast. I'm Mike D,
I'm Greg.
and we're both here to do what? Talk about comics.
It's a wonderful thing.
I'm the Little Lord of Speck, Little Lord Speck Leroy, and I'm here to talk about all the great comics buzz.
Well, there's not much specking this week, unfortunately.
Oh, no.
I mean, the Justice League did die,
Yeah, that's true.
so that's a pretty big spec.
Uh-huh.
But in the same way that Superman died back in the 90s.
Yes.
They'll eventually be back, but in the meantime, we get a bunch of cool different heroes to take up their mantles while they figure out what's going on with the Justice League and what happened to them, and it's a whole thing. This isn't like an event that I'm like, don't even care about. This and like Avengers versus Eternals and X-Men just do not float my boat.
Oh, so I buy like every X-Men book, right?
Mm-hmm.
And seeing that show up on previews last night when I submitted my order, I was like, don't make me buy this.
They are.
But the writer's Kieran Gillen, right?
I know.
And I really like
know.
him. But I was like, if I get this, do I need to get the tie-ins? It was very vague as to which title was like the actual book that starts it off.
Right.
Too. So I wasn't sure like if I was going to buy one, which one was I going to buy? So I ended up buying two. And then all the books are tie-ins. So I was like, I might as well. And then they've got me wrapped up in the normal Marvel rigmarole.
Have you noticed that Marvel is doing like 2 to 3 events a year now?
Does that seem like a lot or a little?
A lot.
Okay.
It seemed to me like they're
Used to be one
just
big thing.
one a year, and now they're just really doubling down on it all.
Well, you remember they chilled out on X-Men for a while, right?
Oh, for sure they did.
And
right after Age of X-Man, when Jonathan Hickman was getting ready to take over, they're like, okay, cool it on everything for a while.
Even before Age of X-Men, wasn't there kind of like a hiatus on a couple X books before Gold and Blue started up again?
Yeah, I think you're right.
There was like this weird lull with X-Men stuff.
Was it after like Grant Morrison just left or something?
There was also a lull with Fantastic Four, and people speculated that Marvel didn't want to make a ton of comics to fuel the Fox movies.
That's true. Yeah, I remember reading that.
They wanted to switch some of the influence to Inhumans. So they did like Uncanny Inhumans and tried to make a big play there, and we weren't getting all the crazy amounts of X titles we normally get.
Mm-hmm.
All that to say, I think that's a big reason why it feels like Marvel's doing bigger cross-title stuff, because X-Men does a couple a year. And before we didn't have anywhere near the number of X-Men books a couple years ago that we have right now.
So now that Disney and Marvel own both
all
Fantastic Four and X-Men now, they're like, okay, now we can keep going with events.
People say all the time that like comics don't influence like their decision on the movies, and the movies don't influence the decisions in the comics. Obviously, the comics inspire the movies, right?
Yeah,
but when we're talking about the amount of money the movies make, everyone's like, who fucking cares? Like, like about the comic books, right?
I think,
I say that's especially true if, people are like, wow, people didn't like Thor 2, so they canceled the Thor comic. Like, I don't think any of that stuff's true.
Get rid of Thor now.
I think all that stuff is like coincidence when like a story arc or a writer stops because a movie didn't perform.
I will
well. That's
agree
total BS.
to a point. I think if, like, let's say, like Iron Man, the movie, was doing really, really well. And so Marvel was just like, well, we may not get regular movie fans in the comics, but comic book readers kind of now want to read more Iron Man comics. So let's make some more Iron Man comics and Iron Man, tie-ins or whatever. Because I remember when the Iron Man movie came out in 2011, all of a sudden he was getting 2 to 3 books a year as well. And like, you didn't really see that beforehand.
No, he was a character no one really gave a shit about.
Yeah. And now he's like top of the heap.
Yeah.
Especially with that Christopher Cantwell series going on right now.
Isn't that funny how many of these characters were just total B-listers or even D-listers?
Yeah.
And now they're like the guys.
I mean, we have a fucking Moon Knight TV show right now.
Yeah, that's wild.
That is batshit crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a supposedly a Scarlet Witch movie coming.
Yeah.
It's just like Marvel's just like dredging the lake. Dredging the lake of just like, who else can we fish out of there and like make popular and make some money off of?
Completely.
So, speaking of Moon Knight,
yes,
are you up to date?
Mostly.
We've watched 4 episodes.
I've watched up to episode 4. Yeah, I haven't seen the latest one.
Thoughts?
I'm loving it so far.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay. I'm really enjoying it. I'm not like, oh my God, it's changing TV.
Oh, of course not. Yeah.
I like it. If I had to put it in my rankings among other Marvel movies and TV shows,
sure. Let's just do Marvel TV shows.
It would be somewhere in the middle.
In the middle, okay.
I've heard some people say that they love this and it's like really up high with their faves, and it's not the case for me.
I think Oscar Isaac is running a goddamn class in front of us on how to act in multiple personalities at the same time.
That is impressive.
He is kicking that role's ass.
Yeah. Are we getting into spoilers at all in this conversation or no?
Yes, we are. Spoilers ahead.
Okay. Turn it off or
see in about a minute or so.
Yeah, maybe a couple more minutes.
15.
15 minutes. We'll put it in the show description maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so did you note there was the coffin or something in the latest episode that didn't open?
The third sarcophagus, yes.
So there's a third personality.
Yes.
Right?
Jack Lockley?
Is that what it is?
Jake
Is that
Lockley?
The cab driver?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. I know there's one other personality, but I always forget.
I'm not a Moon Knight stan or whatever, so I'm not totally clear on the whole mythology of it all. But the third one, I believe, is the taxi driver named Jack or Jake. It's someone with a J.
Yeah, I've read most of the modern or recent ones. I haven't read the Jed MacKay one.
The newest one.
That's the newest one.
Yeah,
but I read all the ones that Greg Smallwood did the art on, the Jeff Lemire, the Cullen Bunn, a couple other people in there, I think, that switched on and off. And those books were phenomenal.
Yeah.
They were really great. Declan Shavley was
right.
doing it for a little while.
Yeah.
Those books were really cool. And I knew that this show, or I'd been like teased or saw something in a preview where I knew it was going to ultimately get to the storyline where he's in the hospital. And I completely forgot about it until we got to episode 4. Right. I was really surprised to be like, oh, we're starting now. And this is like a 6-part series.
It's only
right?
6. Yeah.
So it's like, man, the thing's almost over. And we like just got to the hospital. That's kind of wild. I just always assumed it was going to start there.
It is. For how long the series is, it is moving kind of slow as far as like, well, what is gonna happen in these last 2 episodes? That's really gonna, shock us. Like it seemed like with Loki, they traveled so much and did so much in a short amount of time, and even with Scarlet Witch and Vision, they did a lot in a short amount of time. I like it. Seems like even though it's a great show, Moon Knight's kind of just spinning its wheels, just getting you comfortable that there are 3 people living inside of this one person. So anyway, I am loving it. It's a show that I'm not staying up late on Tuesday night to watch.
Yep.
But by Friday I look
I'm excited to watch it when a new one's on.
Yeah, like Friday I'm looking at Caitlin, I'm just like, "Oh shit, we have a new Moon Knight to watch," and that's what we do. So, and it's crazy that like we've learned on Twitter at least, they're just like the spoilers don't have to happen the minute you watch the episode. Like people have just kind of like let them sit for a while, so that's been nice to see that people have learned their lesson of just like, not everyone has to speculate and spoil it the minute they see it. So
that's great.
Kudos to all of you.
The graphics are fantastic as well.
Oh, just fucking bonkers.
So how do you feel? We were kind of like being like not sure about the outfit and costume and stuff before we saw the show. How do you feel about it now that you've seen the show?
I definitely prefer the Mr. Knight suit.
Yes, with like the cuffs rolled up.
Way more than the traditional Moon Knight costume. Because it is cool that it like encompasses like Egypt's mythology and like kind of like a mummy wrapping and all that.
Yeah.
For the traditional Moon Knight costume, that's cool. But like, there's something just so rad and slick about that white suit with the like Deadpool looking mask that's all white that just looks so mean.
I agree. I like it. I like how that one's really modern, and I wish the other one felt more ancient.
Yes.
Like, it's kind of weird. Like, the suit is almost more dialed down to earth because it's like normal cloth.
Yeah, like he made it.
And it's just weird to have this like ancient deity wrap you in this magical outfit, but the magical outfit is like textured like Kevlar and is like embossed with like goofball symbols. Like it's the outfit's a little corny to me still.
Because even like in the comics, you look at it and you're like, this is like a spandex cloth suit he's wearing.
Yeah.
But now when you look at it in the show, you're like, that's like a Batman suit.
It does feel a lot like Batman, doesn't it?
And so,
which I also watched.
Oh, did you really?
Yes.
Okay, how was it?
You haven't seen it?
I haven't seen it. I know it's on HBO, which we have.
Did you go on a podcast to review it?
No, that was Morbius.
Oh, that was Morbius. Okay.
Which I did have to submit myself to go to a theater and sit through.
Out of 10, what do you give Morbius?
Oh, like a 2, dude. It was rough. Really, really rough. They even got like all of his background wrong somehow.
Yeah. I hate being these nerds who are just like, I didn't like this or that about the show. But I do want to emphasize, I really enjoy Moon Knight, and I'm dumb for complaining about it, but we're trying to have a conversation.
Yeah, I mean, you can still have complaints and
yeah.
opinions about a show, even if you
many
love it.
gripes. Overall, everyone involved, you did a great job.
Yeah.
The Batman, I have the same take most people have, was just that like maybe an hour too long.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of like dramatic pauses in it. There's during the beginning sequence, Robert Pattinson stares at a bunch of people for a really long time, and then they have a moment later in the movie where you're like, that's why he's staring at people so long. But it just doesn't validate the time they wasted with him staring at people. So it's just like, okay, I know that's supposed to be like a payoff moment for this thing that you made me ask myself, but I was just like, didn't need it.
No.
It really could have been like an hour shorter, I think.
I can't wait to watch the Topher Grace edit then.
I will say though that if they would have done this as like a 6-part series and broke it up into
it would have won like 1 million awards probably.
6 half-hour episodes, people would have been like, yes, give me more. I think the whole philosophy around it would have completely changed. Like, if I knew I was going into it and it was a show, I probably would have been like, ooh, I'm hooked. I'm going to binge like 3 episodes.
Yep.
And then I'm going to turn it off and I'll watch more later. But because it's a movie, I feel like I've got to sit down for the last hour and a half, which is just a lot of time to sit down.
Oh, yeah.
Whether you're in a theater or in your house or whatever. The movie just went on and on. But Paul Dano was fantastic in it. What's his face? Was it Colin Farrell that plays the Penguin? Like completely disappears. Like you just cannot tell it's him. It's wild.
I heard that he may be getting an HBO series.
Oh, to be the Penguin?
Yeah.
That would be cool.
So I'm excited to watch it 30 minutes at a time when my son is asleep.
Yeah.
And get through it.
Yeah.
I heard people love that Batman is like a real detective in this movie instead of just like what we've been getting the last few iterations of Batman.
Yeah, I like that Robert Pattinson has like on human frame too. You know, like Christian Bale was just like so fucking massive.
Yeah.
And just seemed like a powerhouse, right? Where
like you see him on the street out of costume, you're like, that's fucking
that
Batman.
Guy's a superhero.
He has the stride of Batman.
Yeah, he's just massive. But yeah, Robert Pattinson seems like a Bruce Wayne type. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, I think kind of like those older ones where he was like supposed to be like rich playboy and spoiled. They don't lean into that really at all in the last like handful of runs, right?
No,
You don't see much of Bruce Wayne going to like galas and doing
womanizing.
yeah, right, doing shit like that. And the movie's not really like that either. But in any case, I thought he was great too. It was so great performances all around. Zoe Kravitz was really good in it as well.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, she was Catwoman.
And her character was so fun. But none of the faults of people in the movie. Their performances were great. Just the story. It was just a lot to sit through.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I think that's the complaint I've been hearing too.
Last hour of it's great. It's worth seeing. I would say completely watch it.
I'm definitely gonna get around to it. It's just a matter of carving out the time to sit and watch it. Mm-hmm. Well, I did purchase the tickets for Doctor Strange too.
You already bought tickets. When is that coming out?
Like a week and a half.
Are you shitting me?
From this recording,
really?
Yeah, like a week and a half.
This is what I'm having a hard time with. Because I know spoilers are going to be abound.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it is such like with the multiverse thing, there's just going to be so much stuff being thrown at us.
Yeah.
And we've already got the Professor X voice in the trailer. So we know something's happening there.
Isn't it weird that like this is a sequel to like the Doctor Strange movie, but it feels like an Endgame or Infinity War type Avengers event happening. Like so much is going to happen in this. Like you're dealing with the multiverse.
You think the stakes are too high?
Yeah, to put it in like a Doctor Strange sequel? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do. I really, really do.
Yeah. I'm exhausted by the crossover stuff already. And it's like barely started.
I'm hoping like this is it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I really think like the surprise it's from another movie shit.
Like they fix it. Doctor Strange fixes it in this one.
I kind of hope so. And then it's like done and we don't have to talk about it anymore.
That'd be fantastic. I mean, we could probably keep America Chavez. Because
yeah, sure.
Because she's going to be like an up-and-coming Marvel hero
like,
now.
I would consider like if you introduce a character in it, that's an MCU character.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
My problem is like they're pulling shit that's like weird fan service that a lot of people are just like, who's that guy? When I mean, like hyper nerds and like dudes who are like 40.
Yeah.
Are like, oh, Topher Grace, like.
Yeah. Oh my God! Did you see that cameo?
Like if Topher Grace showed up in this, so cool.
Algo Bomberf.
But for like anyone younger than us, they're just like, I don't care. I don't get that.
Yeah.
So, and it just doesn't do a lot for me. It's like a kind of a trick. And it's fun the first time it happens, but you can only do that magic trick in front of me so many times before I'm like, okay, all the people are showing up.
And it all ties back to Loki introducing Kang. Because he is the time master, trickster dude. And so we got our first taste of it in Loki. Spider-Man really went into it with the multiverse, with all the Spider-Mans.
But it didn't acknowledge Kang at all, right? You're just saying it.
Well, the guy at the end is supposed to be like
alternate timelines.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm thinking.
Is it though?
What?
The multiverse and timelines are two different things. Now this is a nerdy conversation.
Well, they deal with multiple timelines.
Because what's his butt? Andrew Garfield isn't a variant, right? They're in their own places doing their own thing. They're not timeline splinters.
True. They're multiverse characters, right?
Kang doesn't necessarily care about them.
But if they can get into... Well, does he? Because they exist. Oh, my God.
I mean, Kangs of their reality might care about them.
Okay, true.
But not our Kang.
True. So then you're saying, like, the Spider-Man movie is, like, moot as far as, like, multiverse shenanigans? Or?
No, I think it's a multiverse thing, not a timeline thing.
Okay. So then you're saying...
So Multiverse of Madness is fallout and repercussions of the Spider-Man movie.
I don't know
that
I see what you're saying now.
I don't know that it necessarily
ties in with Loki and
ties
what
in with
Kang
Loki.
is doing.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm on track.
Yeah.
Took a minute, but I got there. but does that not speak to how people are kind of confused?
Oh, completely.
About all of it anyway?
Yeah.
Because
I think this Doctor Strange movie is going to be a clusterfuck for people who aren't like hardcore for MCU.
Yeah. Which if you're seeing it and you're not, then you're like somebody's date. Like Meemaw and Peepaw aren't walking into Doctor Strange 2 looking for a good time.
Yeah, I think there's an audience that goes to these things because it's like a popcorn movie, right?
But then they've seen all the other popcorn movies, which are the MCU movies.
Do people who go and see these? I don't know that that's true. I don't think that. I think you can be like, ooh, Benedict Cumberbatch, I like him,
right?
And be like, I'm gonna go to this like dumb action movie.
So,
but then that dumb action movie turns out to be like Inception with Marvel characters, and you're just like, what the fuck am I seeing?
I'm getting my money back.
I know these movies make like billions and billions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I think there's a pretty big crowd for each that's just like, I'm going to the movies because I think Spider-Man is cool, or I'm going to the movies because Chris Hemsworth is hot.
Yeah.
And don't necessarily care about the other ones as much, where they catch like one of every like 4 or 5 of these.
So you're saying like the popcorn seekers
are going to hate this movie.
Yeah.
I think it's going to get panned just because it's like we're reaching a point of convolution with these things that it's just over the top.
And they think that like it's so big that it'll be explained what's happening, and then it's just like, no. You're being dropped into the middle of a thing. You probably need to watch some other stuff.
I mean, if Patrick Stewart is going to be in it, Patrick Stewart's got to be, what, like 85?
He keeps it tight. He does his sit-ups.
He's in that. He has a show right now, doesn't he?
Picard. Yeah. He's doing fine.
Insane.
He's doing fine. He doesn't. I guarantee he's not going to be acting for much longer.
Yeah.
But it should be. I'm excited to see it because I love chaos. And that's what exactly it's going to be.
The graphics from the first Doctor Strange movie were really fun.
Oh,
so
yeah.
And we're just going to get that like amplified.
Yeah.
So
I think I made a tweet about
how. Do we
know
know what villains are going to be in this movie? Maybe speculated.
I think the main villain is Doctor Strange. Like,
it's like evil Doctor Strange.
Yeah, and
that's
possibly Scarlet Witch because
is she a bad guy?
It's the ramifications of her losing her kids too from WandaVision and all that.
So she's trying to go into a multiverse to find them.
Yeah, because if you remember from the last episode of WandaVision, she gets the Darkhold, and she's like learning how to bring her kids back.
Oh, I forgot about that.
So I think it's like going to be a bait and switch of just like in the first act we get Doctor Strange fighting all these variants, and he's fighting his own variant, and then you find out, wait a minute, Wanda's actually trying to bring her kids back, and she's going to be like full baddie.
And that's going to fuck Doctor Strange. He's going to be like trapped in the multiverse.
We'll see. Because America Chavez can travel between them with her star-shaped portals.
That's her power. She's a multiverse hopper?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And she can punch really hard. She's a good puncher.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought she was just a teleporter, like Magic. But she's going to other places.
Yeah.
Got it.
I don't know her motivation, and her backstory is a little murky now because they've kind of rewritten it a couple times and like her motivations. So we'll just see what happens. But
I don't know if I'm going to see it in theaters. I want to avoid spoilers and stuff, which is going to be impossible. But at the same time, I had such a bad experience the last handful of times I've gone to movie theaters.
Last movie I saw in theaters was Spider-Man.
Yeah, same.
And it was fine. The only problem was the other people in the theater.
Yes, same with me.
Annoyed the shit out of me.
It was awful.
Yeah. So I wish, because we have a place here in Kansas City called Screenland. We could just rent out a theater.
Oh, that's true.
And have 6 of us like just spaced out.
I would do that
and watch it silently.
Yeah. I would love that, actually.
That'd be so rad.
Yeah.
Well, before we get into the episode,
Oh, yeah, we got to talk about our favorite beer.
the best beer,
Space Camper
in my eyes.
Cosmic IPA from Boulevard Brewing Company, based in our own hometown of Kansas City, Missouri.
Yum, yum, gimme some down in my tum-tum.
It's a great IPA.
Mm-hmm.
Refreshing, hoppy.
I was talking to someone today, and this is a true story that happened. I was talking about how I went to the Boulevard Rec Room and tried their new Southwest Boulevard Mexican
Lager? Ale, okay.
and how good it was. And he was like, yeah, it's pretty good. But you know what's really good? He said, Space Camper IPA. I swear to God that actually happened.
Yeah.
And I said...
And you were like, do you know who I fucking am?
I said, do you know who you're talking to? You ignorant piece of garbage.
The number one spokesperson.
They put me on a throne of Space Camper. I'm like the king of Space Camper. Don't talk to me about how good Space Camper is. But I thought that was awesome that other people were just like, yeah, that's like my favorite beer right now, Space Camper IPA, because it's so fucking good, guys.
Speaking of variants, it comes in different flavors.
Mm-hmm.
Eat your Space Camper base, mix it with different hop types. You can get great variety packs. Love it. Speaking of Boulevard, actually, before we get into our comic again, we keep postponing these comic book conversations.
I swear to God, we're talking about comics.
A Comic-Con happened in Kansas City this past weekend.
Yeah.
In which you attended.
Mm-hmm.
Boulevard normally makes a presence there. Did you hang out with our friends and fam at Boulevard?
Yeah, so the booth was there. It wasn't as big as last year's booth.
Okay.
But they had like a cool
last year they had like arcade games and stuff.
Yeah. They didn't do that this year.
Okay.
They had like a cool dome area to hang out with that was like reminiscent of like The Martian, like where you would go to like live on another planet.
Yeah.
So that was a cool little booth or whatever. So they were there, and the con was cool. Kansas City has dropped their mask mandate, which is like much of the country has as well. So it felt a little weird just like walking around. Like some people didn't, some people did. Comic prices have reflected inflation in the country at the booths. And so that was not fun to like try to
go shopping and
go shopping and fill holes in your collection or whatever. And but I met James Tionion. He was there. Matt Kent was also there, and Jason Aaron, Scotty Young. Like,
good lineup this year.
Totally. Like amazing creator lineup for comic books. As far as like other guests that were there, like a bunch of anime voices this year.
Yeah,
a
people
ton.
People love the anime voice casts.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't know who they are. I don't think you do either. But
nope.
It always blows me away how big of a line there is for some of these people.
So I took my cousin Nicholas, who you know, and he stood in line to meet the voice of Asaku, the woman in Star Wars.
Oh, okay.
But it's the voice of her from the cartoons.
She's orange.
Yes. Yeah. It has like cool horn things or whatever. He waited in line for an hour and a half. Paid $100 to get a signature.
$100.
I told him, I was like, "That's great, bud. Like, I paid $100 to see Stan Lee." He goes, "Oh, I thought that would cost $1,000." So I kind of had to have a talk with him about how money works at Comic-Con.
Right.
But it is crazy. It's a new fandom that it just skipped our generation.
Yeah.
Like, I don't. It's not a bad thing. It's just I don't get it.
It's just weird to think of the voice cast as like celebrities,
and they're treated as like
or people that you'd like seek out.
Yeah,
like think of the people like. I'm trying to think of anyone who did a cartoon voice that I'd be like so stoked to meet. Like I wouldn't because they don't write the shows. You know what I mean?
No. Like if Mel Blanc was there and if he was still alive, like the voice of like Bugs Bunny, like fuck yeah, I'd be there to see that. Or like Tex Avery, sure, but like the voice of like Luke Skywalker from Clone Wars, I don't give a shit who that is.
Yep.
Like, and you're right. Like they don't have any part in writing it or creating the show. They're just reading lines.
Yeah. It's
so bizarre. If that's your bag, go off, King and Queen. Do what you got to do, but like. Not for me, dog. Especially an hour and a half wait. No, thank you.
I think it is a generational thing.
It totally 100% is.
Yeah.
Like
It's everyone younger than us. I don't know if I don't really see dudes our age, women our age hanging out in those lines.
No. I was bummed that Elvira had to cancel.
Yeah. Do you know why?
So I did a little snooping
Uh-huh.
on Reddit, and apparently she has canceled every con appearance that isn't in California.
Okay.
Which is where she lives.
Yeah.
And there's speculation that, she's not comfortable with the mask mandates in other cities.
Yep.
There's also speculation that, like, she's sick or something or ill.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Hopefully down the line she can come back because I love Elvira.
Yep.
And not for the two obvious reasons.
God.
I think she is a cultural icon.
Yes.
And an LGBTQ like ally in more ways than you can imagine. And she is from Manhattan, Kansas.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Where I am from.
Very cool.
So, a little hometown pride there.
Uh-huh.
So I was
mistress of the dark.
Born on the Kanza Prairie. So I was bummed I didn't get to see her. I actually have some Elvira comics I was gonna have her sign.
Yeah.
I have the really cool one that Dave Stewart did, where it's like they did an homage to like the Bewitched logo. So anyway, Elvira, if you're listening, I know you are. Can't wait to see you next time. But the con was cool. We did a panel about we hosted it like
you and Budget King. Yeah,
we did like a podcast meetup,
Yep.
like networking. Let's exchange business cards and talk about what works for us and what doesn't work for us, and
Yep. Very cool.
Yeah.
Sounds like a con if I've ever heard.
By any other name.
All right. I think we're gonna get into a comic. Did you read The Naughty List on Aftershock?
I did. Yes.
Okay. Do you want to talk about that one first?
Yeah. Let's go ahead.
Okay. This is a book that poses Santa Claus is a dude in his, what would you say, early 30s?
Mm-hmm.
Who doesn't age and wants to escape this hell of immortality that life has created for him.
Right.
And it's more like the drive to do good and create toys is like a curse. Like he's like driven to like making his hands bleed to like create toys.
Right.
Really interesting, weird concept for a story about Santa Claus, but also entirely original. There's something very interesting about the fact that like I've seen several takes on Santa Claus as like a mythological figure in comics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with like Klaus and this book.
There's a lot of like evil Santa Claus,
Krampus, yeah, sure,
sort of things. I don't know what the fascination with that is, but I hadn't seen this particular take where this guy makes like a wish on a star. When you wish upon a star,
you become Santa Claus.
And he gets cursed and outlives like his wife and his kids.
Yeah.
And then makes a deal with, this deal is so bizarre. He makes a deal with little people that they can live on his land and they'll work
for him
making toys.
Yeah.
Which
why? And they're all just like, yeah, hell yeah.
I was like, am I missing a part of this deal, or is this like in
the deal?
Are they like
indentured servants?
Are they indentured servants?
I think I mean, like, what's the benefit for them?
It didn't seem great on old Sinterklaas's
That's a bum deal.
Side. And then it just gets more like, I thought it was funny that it gradually got more and more out of hand. Like it starts as like, I had this drive to create toys and blah, blah, blah. And you think that he's going to stay this like, it's going to stay like a small folklore story. But then they introduce reindeer that like respawn when they die. So every time one of his reindeer go kaput, another one just magically shows up and they can fly.
And they just like rename it like Vixen 4,
Yeah.
Vixen 5.
Yeah, they can carry any weight of anything. He flies around in a pickup truck that is pulled by the reindeer.
And I guess this is all just like part of the curse,
This is
or
all part
the
of,
deal, or whatever.
all part of his deal or curse that he submitted himself to. There's also this like little printer that showed up. It's like when technology introduces itself, he gets new trinkets.
His wish is up, like his deal updates.
Yes,
like a software update.
He got this like mini printer
on his bedside
that
table
spits out receipt tape. If you ever see like a bartender and like the waiters are putting in orders and the little receipt tape thing pops up, it's like every time someone has like sinned, he gets a little notification that's like
Tommy spit on his teacher.
Yeah, Tommy in Tucson spit on his teacher. And then he's got this magical memory. I know I'm just like ranting on this thing, but it was just so wild. Yeah, they do say his memory is magic, and he can remember everything about every person that gets spit out in this receipt tape. But the crux of the story, everything we go through leading up to that point, brings you to someone stealing that little receipt tape spitter,
right,
and killing all the people on the naughty list.
Oh, right, yeah.
And so Santa Claus is like, fuck it, it's all right with me. I don't really care. I just want to escape this curse of a life, and I can't kill myself. They had some scenes where he was trying to commit suicide.
I would love to die.
And I was like, oh my God. And then he like, Groundhog's Day, he just like wakes up in the morning the next day. But he's driven to find this murderer because the murderer ends up killing innocent women and children that are part of human trafficking.
Right.
So the naughty list killer is trying to kill the people who are human trafficking, but just takes out the whole
thing,
the whole lot.
Yeah.
It's just like easier to sink the entire ship than it is to pick off
who's the bad guy or not.
The bad guy. And that's where Santa Claus draws a fucking line in the sand.
No children and no dames. That's the rule.
Now, normally when we talk about a comic book, they're more open discussions and we don't just fully monologue the plot.
But this one was so wild.
But it was just so wild that I was like, I've got to just like word vomit like all the things that happened.
And kind of wild in the best way possible. It was like
I'll say I enjoyed it. It was the tonality of it, like kind of worked. It started kind of tonally serious, and then as it went on and got more corny, I started to interpret the tonality of it a little different. It wasn't like if they would have started it and it was like so hyper serious,
right?
And
and
stayed like aggressively like hard nosed, like in a gritty tale. It would have been stupid when like a little receipt printer popped up on his bedside table. You know what I mean? But like throughout there's little things where like the elves like getting high and
didn't he like flip off somebody like Santa Claus did?
Yeah, there's like little things here and there where you're just like, oh, this is supposed to be fun. And I think it holds your hand up until a point where like you gradually realize that it's not taking itself seriously, which was kind of an interesting roller coaster or adventure to be on with it.
Yeah, it's almost like the lead character was like John McClane from Die Hard, and you're just like, this is supposed
to turn into an action movie,
right? Like this is supposed to be like kind of satire, like a little absurd. It's not like a straight up like yuck comic, but like you find yourself chuckling at like just the absurdity of it, and you're like, there was a few times I had to like check the creator. I'm just like, is like Garth Ennis writing this book? Like this is nuts. But like I'm kind of in for the whole ride of just like, let's see where this fucking goes.
Same. It makes me think that one night some buddies were drinking. And we're like,
what if Santa Claus had political views and felt strongly about them, and over time was like, I'm going to pick a side. Like, that's kind of the thing. Like, because he's this... You think Santa Claus was supposed to be fair and balanced? Nope.
I think is this like immortal, unkillable god figure that can like zoom around the world really quickly.
Yeah.
He's got a responsibility to
stay out of other people's
to
affairs.
stay out of other people's affairs.
Ho, ho, ho. It's your decision, not mine.
And I think this book poses the question, what if he stopped minding his
Being
own
polite
business
and started getting real.
Started getting real, exactly.
Yeah.
The real world North Pole.
Becky, you bitch. Who ate all my avocado toast? Derek?
It was funny, too, that he was like 600 years old, but also used a lot of modern references.
Well, wouldn't you, though? Like, if you, like, aged up with... If you're immortal, like, you kind of, like, you know...
Yes, you're
take
living
on
you're living in the moment.
Yeah, you take on the lingo of the day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, another theme
that reference like B. Arthur. And I was, which is funny because it's like, okay, that's a reference from like
the 80s?
The 80s, right? Yeah, she was most famous in like late 80s, early 90s probably.
Mm-hmm.
It's just funny to go back, 40
years for a sweet B. Arthur joke.
30, 40 years, and that's like your threshold for references when you're immortal.
Well, Hollywood's been doing it, so why can't Santa Claus?
Hey, exactly right.
Zinged him. Like you were saying, we did kind of word vomit this whole story, like the whole book from front to end, but like, folks, pick it up.
It's
like,
a recommend from me for sure.
So wild.
Yeah, it might have started sounding like we were like making fun of it, or
I don't think we were making fun of it. I think we were just chuckling at just like the wildness of like the concept of the book.
Yeah, and I think that's the point the author was trying to make and the fun we were having with it.
It's kind of like when you watch a good B movie
mm-hmm.
that you're just like, this is so wild. Like Nicolas Cage is in Pig.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, what am I watching and why am I loving every minute of it?
Yes. Because of the way it started, my expectations were like
guarded.
Exactly right. That's a great way to put it. And then they were well exceeded by the end of the book.
Yeah.
And we haven't even gotten into action yet. You know what I mean?
I can only fucking imagine.
It was all origin story and like that. I mean, that speaks to how good the book was to have like basically 30 pages of exposition. and
not even real fighting
yet. And then
yet.
be like, the next book's going to be like the one where like stuff happens.
Then guns get introduced. And it goes wild.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Sticking with the theme, another book about a person who is immortal and has to go on a killing spree. I read Blood-Soaked Teeth by Christian Ward.
Yes.
And it was on Image Comics. Blood-Stained Teeth. Sorry, I said Blood-Soaked. And it is it's described by Image Comics as a fast-paced 100 Bullet style crime saga with fangs. Have you ever read 100 Bullets?
No.
So the concept of 100 Bullets is like a hitman is given a briefcase of 100 unmarked bullets.
Is this the Sean Phillips, Ed Brubaker thing?
It was Azzarello, I think.
Oh, okay.
It was on Vertigo.
Okay.
And so like he can kill 100 people without being caught because the bullets are like unmarked.
Okay.
And so this is a story about this like vampire who has been going around biting other people for money to turn them into vampires.
Like they pay him
yes.
to get turned into vampires.
Yes, so they can become immortal and what have you.
Okay, he provides a service.
Yes.
All right.
And the theme of the book is like the character is always saying being immortal isn't cheap. So he's doing this to keep up a certain lifestyle. And which is funny because I never really thought about that. Like,
yeah, right.
If you have to live forever, you have to have some kind of income. But the like vampire higher ups kind of suss out what he's doing.
Yeah.
And they basically are just like,
they want to keep the club a little more tight.
Like they're like you
can't buy your way in.
You're messing up the bloodline. It's too spread out. And so they give him, I think, like 3 weeks to go back and kill everyone he's been turning into vampires.
Oh my God, okay.
The last however long he's been alive.
Yeah.
And so what this series is going to do is follow him, tracing his steps and trying to find out who he's turned into a vampire.
I love it.
And I think we're going to get stories of just like some people are going to be easier for him to kill because they turned out to be assholes or they want to die. And then I'm sure we'll get those stories of people who have like actually done good things with immortality or these new powers. And so it's going to be like a real conflict of like, do I kill this person? Like, how do we go about this? And so I love Christian Ward. He wrote Odyssey, which we talked about a few weeks ago.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And he's been he has some like amazing artwork as well. So I'm just really, really pumped to see where this story goes. I got kind of burnt out on vampires.
I was just about to ask if you were a vampire fan, which is funny to me. Again, just kind of like the Santa Claus thing, that there would be like...
for the record, I am a huge Santa Claus fan.
I love Santa stuff.
Big SC guy over here.
But there are people who are just like, vampire shit, I'll try it.
Yes. Like, so in the realm of monsters, vampires aren't my favorite. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
But this isn't really about vampires.
Okay.
It's about like he's on a mission to save his own life.
Yeah.
And so he has to kill people who he's turned into vampires. Mm-hmm. And so I think
it's more of a fun angle for immortality than it is
bingo.
Anything else.
And that's what is like the fun angle of this.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm I did get burnt out on vampire shit the same way I got burnt out on like zombie stories.
Yeah.
It's just like it got so saturated. The market got so saturated with these stories. Nothing unique was like rising to the surface, and it just became this whole muddled like mess of the same story being told over and over again.
Do you think it's like how people get like the first really good video game I played was a first-person shooter, and now I just chase first-person shooters like a drug?
Sure. They just get comfortable.
It's the same thing like that, right? That it's just like, I loved Walking Dead. Now just give me zombie thing after zombie thing after zombie thing.
Right. Which you didn't fall in love with zombies. You fell in love with Robert Kirkman, and he's written way better stories.
Yeah, right? It's just, I don't know.
I've never met someone who was just like, yeah, I'm a zombie guy. Or like, I'm a vampire guy. Like, that's all the stuff I consume is vampire stuff.
But that guy exists, right? I'm not crazy.
No, they 100% exist.
Okay.
That's why Twilight exists. That's why Interview with a Vampire
Twilight exists because of like horny teenagers.
Vampires are horny, my dude.
I think that works for anybody.
I don't think Frankenstein's horny.
No. I'm just saying.
Oh, we're not ranking the universal monsters on horniness? Damn it. Guess we'll save that for the Patreon.
Okay, when people say Universal Monsters, are they referring to Universal Studios?
Yes, I am.
They introduced...
So that was go ahead with your thought.
You might know better than I do, but I guess they just like made films of these monsters early on, which kind of cemented them as like the types of or like the archetypes of monsters.
So those monsters existed in
books and
literature.
Yeah.
And Universal created those iconic movies, and they became pop culture phenomena.
Yeah.
Because it was in the height of black and white television. It was like the golden age of Hollywood. And so you had Invisible Man, Mummy, Frankenstein, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Werewolf. Like those were like the super popular.
It's funny to casually see you rip them off. Werewolf.
I love the Universal
Mummy, Werewolf, Invisible People.
No big deal. It's like I'm going through my grocery list there for a second. Eggs, butter, milk.
You just disassociated and just keep going and going.
And then like they just like kind of weave themselves into other facets of pop culture. Like Abbott and Costello at one time probably hunted all of them.
Yeah, sure.
And then like you get Monster Squad and like so on and so forth.
I've heard people say Universal monsters plenty of times, and I'm just like, are they universally known? Or is that a cinema thing? Yeah. So okay. Thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome. They're universally known and known to rock the microphone. In case you're wondering.
Great.
What are we talking about?
the fandom of monster archetypes.
Yeah. So there are those that are just like, I'm a vampire guy through and through. Not a huge big fan of Blade,
There's
but
mech guys.
100%.
People will buy stuff because there's a mech.
Yeah.
I'm saying guys, but I'm meaning types of person. There's mech chicks as well. There's mech people.
Yeah. And that's great, but I'm not one of them, is what I'm trying to get at to you. Mm-hmm. And so this book is my recommendation for the week.
Oh, I'll say our own Budget King, kind of a kaiju guy.
Big kaiju head.
Yeah, that's a thing.
Loves
for
kaiju.
Sure.
Yeah. And like, that's great.
Yeah. You could tell so many different types of stories so many ways and be either really good at writing or really bad at writing. Man, I'm just reemphasizing the thing I've said over and over again, but just kills me. Just because there's a big thing walking around a city doesn't mean you should like automatically like it.
Yeah, I think there's like a comfort to it.
Sure.
It's like the, Linus's blanket theory of just like, this calms me down. This just takes me back to a place when I was happy. Mm-hmm. That's why people still love Dragon Ball Z. Like, that show's kind of fucking hot garbage, but people love it because they went home after school with their chocolate milk and watched Dragon Ball Z.
Mm-hmm. It's your safe place.
Yeah, 100. Yeah, that's what conservatives have been screeching about. No more safe places. Get Dragon Ball off TV. Let's scare these kids.
Get over your fetish of being squished by a kaiju.
There's videos for that, my friend. I'll show you the site.
Step on me.
So 2 books that get recommendations from us.
Yeah.
Like, this was a great episode.
I didn't read Bloodstained Teeth, but...
Did you pre-order it? I know you do your monthly pre-orders.
I did pre-order it.
You'll have a good time, my friend.
Fantastic.
I read a little bit of the new Junior and Zeb Wells.
Oh, Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be a fun time, I think. I'm upset that it's a new number 1 for obvious reasons. Mm-hmm. It's because we just left Nick Spencer's run. Mm-hmm. We could have just kept the numbering, to be honest.
Well, the really funny thing to me with the numbering here was that we're almost at like a big legacy numbering landmark. Mm-hmm. So I was like, why not just leave it for like, what is it, issue 700 or something like that is coming up really soon?
Yeah, what happened?
So I was like, it's kind of bizarre that they stepped away from legacy numbering for, I think, issue 2 or 3 of this series is going to be number 700.
So stupid. That's what Thor just did for like number 24 of the Donny Cates Thor run that's happening right now is like 750 or some shit. Mm-hmm.
Is that a mega-sized one? Do you know?
Yeah.
750 is a big.
Yes, but it's not like
round one.
I don't know if it's an anthology multiple Thor stories. So it could be just something like crazy happens in there. Who knows?
Well, I think they did with Venom 100. They just did like a really long, beefy bound, like just story in the universe and the continuity of what we were reading right now, which is I think the way it should be done.
Right. And that was a great issue.
Yeah,
just because it was just an extra long issue of Venom.
And especially when you think about what made like the old, like what made Spider-Man 300 great. It was like, oh, they introduced a really cool new bad guy.
Yeah. And that fucking McFarlane cover, god damn it.
And the cover becomes iconic and it's associated with like something new and fun happening. Like, try to reserve those things for. But now it's like we're introducing characters all the damn time to create some buzz.
Yeah.
So
your girl White Rabbit has a lot of screen time in this new.
Oh, very cool. I like White Rabbit.
Number 1 issue. So I think she's gonna be a big player.
Cool.
Going forward.
Nice.
Did you catch up on Devil's Reign?
I still have an issue or 2 to read.
Okay, because there's some moments in the new Spider-Man where I'm just like, holy
like
shit, they tied into Devil's Reign already. Right, cool. This is awesome.
Nice.
So read with care. Read Devil's Reign first before
will do. Cool.
Do Spider-Man.
All right, good tip.
But that's all I got for this episode.
Ditto.
Join us over on the Patreon and other social medias. Thanks again, Boulevard, for supporting us.
Yeah.
Until next time.
Bye-bye. First Issue Club is brought to you by Boulevard Brewing Company via Space Camper Cosmic IPA. Our music is courtesy of the fine folks at Primary Color Music. You can find, friend, and follow us on social media at First Issue Club or firstissueclub.com. You can support First Issue Club by joining us on our Patreon for additional content at patreon.com/firstissueclub.